Hello.
Hi.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. We're back to answer another question, but before we can answer the question, JB was purposely pushing some of my buttons while we started to hit record. It's what I signed up for. It's fine, y'all.
It's fun. So much fun.
This week we're answering a question from a submissive who wants power exchange outside of the bedroom and wants to figure out how to sort of bring their dominant partner along for the ride.
Good.
Let's get into the question.
All right.
My husband, 33 male, and I, 34 female, have been together for 14 years. I realized that I was kinky about 3 years ago, and he's been gladly along for the ride as long as sex is involved. He is a fantastic dom to me for kinky fuckery, but taking the DS beyond the bedroom is challenging for him. I've spoken with him about this and even given suggestions of things I could do to serve him during the day, but I'm always the one to request, and if I don't say anything, nothing happens. I mentioned to him the power behind do this for me kind of requests, but he hasn't taken any action with that. We have started a routine with maintenance spankings, not connected to sex, which is a good step in the right direction. I guess I'm looking for conversation starters to help motivate my dom to bring DS outside the bedroom. Can I do the part that nobody ever wants to hear, but it has to be said, and then we can go into tips and tricks?
Go ahead.
You can't make someone be a certain kind of dominant or submissive in any power exchange. So you may try all of these things. You may try things you find in, from other resources, and it may still never fully work to whatever image you have in your head of what you'd like this to look like. And I don't say that to be discouraging, but to be sort of realistic that,
unfortunately,
it is possible to maybe find a path that is satisfactory enough for you that you're like, okay, this is cool, and you can be content with it. But it just bears saying sometimes that you can't make anybody be the dominant you want them to be, so you'll have to decide based on what your husband is willing and able to do if that is enough for you. That being said, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think in one way it's probably frustrating, but it seems like they've kind of taken the small step that they've, incorporated, like they talked about the maintenance spanking. Okay. So, that's one thing. Okay. And it sounds like in order for this to possibly work, that's what you're going to have to do is just small steps. All right. The maintenance spankings is one good thing. You get that going, and that becomes a normal part of the routine. Then look at adding something else. And it's never a guarantee, but that would be the best way. Especially since it seems like they're being, there's a little difficulty with them getting on board. You definitely do not want to overwhelm.
Right, because then everything will
then
stop.
Everything, if this is a possible confidence thing, and let's be honest, sometimes it very well could be. You're moving something into all new territory. So there could be a little bit of a confidence, and some of these little steps like this make good confidence builders. And that's kind of what you need to do to lay the groundwork.
I agree completely, and I love the fact that you're starting with something that's kinky but not sexual to kind of build that habit.
Right.
The kind of conversation starters that come to my mind are more questions to ask. And your husband, what he's going to respond to and how to approach topics. So modify this if anything resonates. But the questions that I would want the answer to if I was trying to figure this out are, is there anything about the idea of big D dominance outside of sex, outside of play, that makes him nervous, kind of icks him out a little bit, like, I don't think so. What does he think of the concept of dominance outside of fuckery, right? That information will give you something to work with, because it's possible that he's got, which is an idea we want the people in our lives to have of, I shouldn't be telling you what to do, right? Like, you're an independent person and I shouldn't be infringing on that, right? But if that's the case, then you get to talk about, what it means to you to be dominated in this way, and that it provides pleasure and meaning, and it does not infringe on your independence because you are consenting to it, right? So there's that. Or if it's, I just don't think about it, that could be a personality trait that's just that person is not dominant, but it could also be because they have not received the benefits of what it can mean to have a submissive who wants to do things for you, right? It could also, that kind of question can also lead to conversations about any stereotypes that he may believe incorrectly about what it means to be a dominant, and that does not appeal, so he's just not thinking about it and it's not important to him. I think other questions that, you talk about service and serving as a submissive. I think that's a great way to incorporate non-bedroom, non-sexual power exchange for any power exchange couple. And again, I think we're time traveling, and I said this in the video we literally just recorded, because we did a review of a workbook on service submission and learned some things in the process. And I think if he is open to the idea of you doing things for him as service, but the idea of having to tell you all the time or having to look around and notice it is not something he's into, right? That would be another question I would advise you to ask to start the conversation is, does the idea of me serving you bother you? Is that what you dislike? Or is it the follow through? Is it the thinking of things to have to ask for, right?
Those are good points.
That particular workbook talks about different types of service where some parts of service are situational. Your dom sees a thing he wants you to do, he asks you to do it. Well, your partner might not be wired that way, but would your partner be willing to negotiate ahead of time outside of that sort of moment of the dynamic, things you can do for him on a daily, weekly, consistent basis that he agrees he will check in with you. He will pay attention to when it's done. He will offer feedback. It might not be right then in the moment. It might need to be on a schedule if that works with how he functions and how he thinks of things. And that may be an option to rethink this idea of what service means to you versus what it means to him. If he's overwhelmed at this idea that he's going to have to come up with 10 things to do and remember to tell you and remember to follow up, those things are important parts. If you're a dom, please follow up, please provide support and praise and all that good stuff. But when you're brand new to it and it maybe is not your natural instinct to do, it can feel overwhelming. Now, clearly y'all know to start small. So if he's open to something like that, where you pre-negotiate how you'll serve, you do the thing, and then he, as part of the negotiation process, will check in with you on some semi-regular basis. You start with one thing and get that down into a routine and see how it goes. Now, the thing to remember for both of you is that these are about habits changing. So if you are the one really invested in it, really excited to do the thing, helps you feel your submissive self, helps you feel the power dynamic between you, you have enough interest to carry you through, at least in the beginning, to be on top of it. If he does not have the same level of interest, because maybe it's not a thing he really, that kind of service isn't something he wants, or the way it's framed is not working for him, or it's a lack of confidence, he might have a harder time adjusting to a set routine of, I'm going to see that you did the thing. I'm going to acknowledge it. We'll talk about it on, a week from now. Like, whatever you decide to do for what will work for your life and your kink personalities, essentially. So you'll want to be patient to some degree, because he is not just changing his habits, he's changing his way of viewing things, whereas you might be in the, I'm really super excited to do this, so it's easy for you to be on top of it. Now, I think that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah.
get curious about what he's thinking when you're talking about these concepts and finding new ways to do something you're envisioning in your head.
Now, one other thing I would add, how knowledgeable is he in regards to power exchange? Okay. That could be a possibility of, what could be holding them back a little bit too.
Sure.
So, are they open to learning?
Right.
Workshops, books, the Big Book of Topping.
Yes, that's a good resource. The
The Loving Dominant. These books both deal with non-sexual
Yes, absolutely.
aspects of the power dynamic. And it gives you some excellent insight. And that may be what he needs a little bit of. These are both great books as jumping points for them to learn.
Right. And if he's interested in it and it is maybe a lack of confidence or a lack of knowledge and he's open to learning, that's a great sign for you. That means that, again, whatever you end up developing between the two of you might not look like what you're envisioning right now, but it might be easier to find a happy middle ground that works for both of you. And if physical books aren't like it for him, I know it's available in ebook, and I believe they both might be available as audiobooks. So that's an option too.
I know ebooks they're available.
I thought audiobook too.
Yeah.
Double check. And then, if that gets his attention or he becomes interested in learning more, there are online spaces, there are in-person spaces. That's not for everybody, and I think it's fine if somebody's like, I don't want to go to a munch. No problem. There are ways to learn from others online as well, not to mimic what somebody else does, but just to see that there are as many ways to be a dominant as there are dominants out there, right? And sometimes what a person needs of either side of the slash is just to see it being done in a way that breaks the stereotype in their head and maybe fits their personality a little bit more. There are plenty of dominants out there who their persona is the fierce, the stern, the stoic type, and that works for people. Then you've got people like JB who are more likely to laugh and giggle with you than to take everything super serious, registered trademark, right? Like when he needs to be, he will, but he wants to have fun and be playful as much as I want to have fun and be playful. And that there are plenty of dominants that we've talked to over the years who are shocked to find out that they can be silly, they can be goofy, they can be relaxed, but if you don't get to see it in action, you might not realize that that's an option. So, if he's willing to seek out, groups and online or in-person spaces where dominant people gather of all genders, so you can kind of see what it looks like, right, in the real world, I would encourage that as well. Okay, so if you have thoughts about this, you've encountered something like this before, had a partner who, you sort of were looking for ways to talk to them about it, see if you could help motivate them, see if you could help them find a path forward, please share your knowledge and experiences in the comments below. We can always, learn from one another, and our thoughts are not the only thoughts on this, y'all. There are plenty of ways to approach this. If you enjoyed this, we love a thumbs up. If you like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing. Those are the words, yes.
And go ahead and ring that notification bell to get updates and new content.
Just do it, Daddy says. If you really like what we do, want to help us do more of it, get access to an online community through our Discord server, get extra content, get extra perks and stuff, you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/KaylaLords, or the link is down below.